might as well jump in here. Hello, hey everybody. Probably why I'm getting good lighting because I'm being lit by my big screen in front of me. Mild Monday, then temps tumble on Wednesday. Hmm. Just looking over my email here. Cry havoc, and let's slip the dogs of dog. So, not a lot to talk about the top of the show here before we get started. It's been busy week, a lot of usual stuff, some unusual stuff. Tomorrow I'm gonna go to the doctor because I'm thinking my blood pressure is a little too high, and you need to take care of yourself. So I'm taking care of myself, so I'm gonna go get that taken care of. Um, let's see if there's anything interesting I can talk about at the top of the show here. Hmm. Hush, little doggy, don't say a word. Pop is gonna do this podcast. If this podcast doesn't record right, Tom's gonna go berserk. Hmm. Nothing here really captures my interest. So I wonder, what else is out there? Oh, that reminds me. Do have something we can discuss at the top of the show, which is the box office this past weekend. We can start off the show with the box office report. Because why not? Like I say, I love facts and figures. You know? And I don't do rumor and conspiracy theories. Unlike some other people. Um, Baby, you can drive my car. Now I got that stuck in my head. So, it's about. I get started here in about 5 minutes. So, I got the box office report brought up. Here's an interesting piece of news. Astronauts are testing a 3D printer that would make bandages made of their own skin. This comes from Sci-Fi Wire. Reads, traveling into space is a dangerous endeavor. Humans are evolved to live on the surface of our planet, and venturing outside of our atmosphere brings all manner of complications. There are the obvious things like the lack of food, water, and oxygen, not to mention the deadly vacuum of space or the potential toxic environments of other worlds. Then there are less obvious problems, things which might not be immediately deadly, but could become a problem in an emergency. Here on Earth, if you become injured, you have access to a world's worth of infrastructure, including the over-the-counter medications and healthcare systems. In space, if you get a flesh wound, your crewmates might hear you scream, but they'll have limited ways to help. An experiment by the German Space Agency, DLR, is hoping to solve this problem with bioprinted bandages made from the astronauts' own cells. SpaceX's 24th commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station, which launched in late 2021, carried with it a handheld device known as the Bioprint First Aid Handheld Bioprinter, or Bioprint First Aid for short. Yeah, I think they could come up with a snappier name than that. The device is designed to hold cells from astronauts or Earthbound patients infused inside a bioink. In the event of an injury, the Bioprint First Aid would be used to apply a bandage to the injury site in near real time. The bioink mixes with two fast-setting gels and will create a covering similar to plaster. Previously existing technologies for creating similar structures involved bulk machinery or required additional time for the patches to mature. The Bioprint First Aid has the benefit of being small enough to hold in the hand and is totally manual, requiring no batteries or other power source to use. For the test on the ISS, the device won't have any living cells inside. Instead, it's carrying fluorescent microparticles, which take the place of cells for later observation. The primary objective of these experiments is to test the print capability of the device in microgravity and compare it to performance in Earth gravity. Taking this technology into space allows researchers to understand the way tissue layers work together in microgravity, which might be fundamentally different from the way they operate here at home. The findings will not only inform the future of this technology in space, but will also provide insight which might be useful on the ground. While the allure of bioprinting technology for space-based missions is immense, this technology will likely do most of its work here on Earth. Using bioprinted skin patches for wound healing offers the decreased risk of rejection, because the patch will contain cells from the target patient. A handheld device like the Bioprint First Aid also opens up treatment into additional scenarios. Doctors and emergency response personnel could take the device to where the patients are without necessarily needing to take them to the hospital. The benefit of space travel shouldn't be understated, however. Astronauts in space heal differently than they do on Earth. Low gravity is known to increase the time needed for healing injuries. Scientists are hoping bioprinting might help bridge the gap in the event of injury during long-duration space missions when traditional medical intervention isn't readily available. NASA has made no secret of their intent to return humans to the moon and complete longer-duration missions to Mars and elsewhere. Other organizations include the ESA, DLR, and SpaceX will likely also have their hands in exploring the solar system. Developing systems for more readily testing injuries in space will likely become critical as our time spent in space increases. If there's one thing we've learned from our space exploration efforts, it's that things go wrong. It takes a thick skin to be an astronaut. It can't hurt to make it a little thicker. That was an interesting story. And the story you got only here by watching the pre-show. So, with that, I think I've spent enough time here. Let's take the banner off here. Damn. There it goes. I have no idea what there, but button did I? Oh well. I would like to make sure I can see my level in the mixer panel, so that way I know that the sound is actually going out. And you're not just watching my lips flap. Let's get ready to record here. Let's get our. Let's see. I have one viewer on Twitch, so hello, thank you for joining us. And now, without further ado, take care something real quick there. 1, 2. This is how we do. Tonight, Picard gets back to work. Bantha facts. Damon stops Batman. Amazing Spider-Man gets a new #1. Disney Plus is turning red. And remember the bearded lady. All that and more on this edition of Multiverse Tonight. You know, I think I want to re-record that because I added a thing here. I had Bob Saget's obituary. So. Alright, so let's do that again. Tonight, Picard gets back to work. Bantha facts. Matt Damon stops Batman. Amazing Spider-Man gets a new #1. Disney Plus is turning red. And remember the bearded lady and Bob Saget. All that and more on this edition of Multiverse Tonight. Comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, and more. If you're looking for a roundup of geeky news, you're in the right place. This is Multiverse Tonight. And here's your host, Thomas Townley. Hello again and welcome to episode 155 of Multiverse Tonight. I'm, of course, your ever living host, Thomas Townley. And, well, I've had a really busy week this past week. Work, I spent most of my week working on the car batteries, reorganizing them, getting them out on the shelf, fixing the battery core storage there. And then this week we here at home also received a new exercise bike, if you will. And so yesterday I spent putting that together, but also I broke the screen on my brand new Samsung laptop that I bought back in October. That was my fault. It got between the chair and the table, and when I pulled the lever to put up my feet, I heard crack. Yep, sure enough, I'd cracked the screen. So we went to Wichita yesterday to see what that repair would cost. I took it to a company called You Break I Fix It. They said it was going to be in the $350 range, which was about the price of the laptop itself. So I said, yeah, I'll think about that. And then I went over to another company over in Wichita called Rivet Computers. They have it right now. They initially quoted me 150, but that might go up. So they'll let me know. So, I'm just kind of waiting for that call or email to arrive. In the meantime, we do have a show. I'd like to start the show today with talking about the box office this past weekend. This, of course, was an extra long weekend with Martin Luther King Day today. So this might change a little bit, but there's a new number one. But of course, let's start down, towards noting a few other things here. Encanto dropped from 11 to 13. Ghostbusters Afterlife dropped from 8 to 11. The Matrix Resurrections holds at the number 10 spot this week, down from number 6. It's made a total gross of $35.8 million. So it lost basically half of its revenue from the week previous. Licorice Pizza stays at number 9. West Side Story went from number 7 to number 8. It's brought in $33.7 million, domestically, of course. American Underdog went from 5 to 7. The movie Belle debuts at number 6. I have no idea what that's about, but I'm assuming it's a kids' movie. The King's Man went from 4 to 5. So far, it's brought in $28.6 million. The 355 went from number 3 to number 4. Sing 2 went from number 2 to number 3. It's brought in $119 million. It has brought in more than The Matrix Resurrections. What does that say? I don't know. Spider-Man No Way Home fell out of the top slot. It went from number 1 to number 2, losing 36.2% over the previous week. So I guess people have seen it enough, so they've moved on. Its domestic gross right now sits at $698.7 million. And Scream, it debuted at the number 1, Scream 4, which is, it's called Scream, but it's actually the 4th Scream movie. Which, by the way, Hollywood, stop it. If you're going to, if this is a sequel, you need to clarify that that's a sequel in the title. Otherwise, all you do is just confuse people. Scream, I saw that way back then. That's a different Scream. Yeah, see. It debuted with $30.6 million. It's pretty good. Let's dig a little deeper on Spider-Man No Way Home, though. So, Spider-Man No Way Home, domestically, is, as I said, $698.7 million. Internationally, it's gotten nearly $1 billion on its own, $926.3 million, making its worldwide gross at right now about a little over $1.6 million. So on the all-time list, let's see the top lifetime grosses here. It's now sitting at number 5 on the all-time list. Black Panther will be the next to fall. It only is at $700.4 million lifetime gross against Spider-Man No Way Home's $698.7, so that will probably fall, sometime this week. It would have farther to go to get to the number 3 slot, which is Avatar, with $760.5 million. Avatar's Endgame is at $858.3 million. And the number 1 is still Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, with $936.6 million. Now let's go on to the Star Trek news. And we start the Star Trek news today with Star Trek Picard, which is coming back to work following a break after a COVID outbreak among the production staff. Now, the initial report said that over 50 in the staff tested positive after return from the holiday break on the 3rd, affecting multiple departments. However, the cast all came away negative. So, in order not to give the 81-year-old man COVID, production was halted. Now, this is season 3 that they're currently working on. Season 2 will debut next month on Paramount Plus. Star Trek Picard's Michelle Hurd and Jerry Ryan will be teaming up to reprise their roles of Raffi Musiker and Seven of Nine for the Simon Schuster original audio drama Star Trek Picard: No Man's Land. This fully dramatized adventure will pick up in the aftermath of Season 1 of the streaming series, while Seven of Nine and Raffi are enjoying some much-needed R&R in Raffi's remote hideaway. Their downtime is interrupted by an urgent cry for help. A distant beleaguered planet has enlisted the Fenris Rangers to save an embattled evacuation effort. As Seven and Raffi team up to rescue a mysteriously ageless professor whose infinity-shaped talisman has placed him in the deadly sights of a vicious Romulan warlord, they take tentative steps to explore the attraction depicted in the final moments of Picard Season 1. Now, the No Man's Land script is written by Kirsten Beyer, a co-creator, writer, and producer on the series, and Mike Johnson, a veteran contributor to the Star Trek comic books. Ryan and Hurd will be joined by Fred Tatasciaro, the voice of Hulk, Bruce Banner, as well as Lieutenant Shax on Star Trek Lower Decks. John Cassier, best known as the Crypt Keeper on HBO's Tales from the Crypt. And John Cutmer Scott, a featured character on the ABC series Deception. Star Trek Picard: No Man's Land, an original audio drama, arrives on February 22nd. Star Trek Prodigy's recent cameo-filled episode, Kobayashi, was filled with past stars of Star Trek using clips of each of the original actors. However, writer Aaron J. Waltke tells comicbook.com that he wrote Odo's role in the episode in 2019 before Rene Auberjonois' death. It intended that the Star Trek Deep Space Nine star would reprise the role, saying, quote, "Yeah, when we first were starting to write it, we were like, let's honor some of these characters that maybe are no longer with us, but also mix in some others. But then Rene sadly passed at age 79 before recording his performance. And then, over time, it just so happened to be that we lost Rene, and at that point, we were like, well, we have to try to make it work. Because Odo has always been one of my favorite characters across all of Star Trek, period. And I hope that I did his character justice in that he always was this figure that was both playful and snarky, but also could get the job done, and I would argue was one of the greatest security officers that ever worked with Starfleet, even if he never formally joined them." Unquote. Yeah. It was a good episode, especially the fact that the character tried it over and over and over and over, and just when he thought he beat it, he put his feet up, and it was a very, very good episode. Now let's go on to the Star Wars news.
Roger, Roger.
And Star Wars news starts with Disney, Lucasfilm, and First joining forces to announce Build the Future, powered by Star Wars Force for Change. Build the Future will give First teams around the world an opportunity to amplify their unique stories as thinkers, innovators, and forces for good, and to demonstrate the use of their STEM skills. Gracious professionalism and global citizenship while off the field. The most impactful stories will be featured in an upcoming First multimedia campaign together with Disney and Lucasfilm. Executive Vice President and General Manager at Lucasfilm, Lynwyn Brennan, said, quote, "We're thrilled to be shining a spotlight on First students and their stories through Build the Future. As future technologists, engineers, and change makers, today's students hold the promise of enacting real change and creating a brighter future for all. Their creative, groundbreaking ideas will help our society confront increasingly complex challenges from health and hunger to climate and change and clean water." Unquote. Now, as a First strategic partner focused on reducing barriers to unprecedented underserved youth, Disney and Lucasfilm, through the Star Wars Force for Change philanthropic movement initiative, provide a financial support as well as mentorship and storytelling opportunities to inspire, strengthen, and diversify interest in science and technology careers. Their commitment to providing opportunity to more youth worldwide has expanded with a new investment now reaching more regions than ever before, including Japan, the Philippines, Australia, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, Spain, Brazil, United Kingdom, Turkey, South Africa, and Germany. The bantha seen in the Book of Boba Fett are very different from the ones from 1977, though no animals are walking around in those costumes. Speaking with his friend and sometimes collaborator Kevin Smith on the Fat Man Beyond podcast, Boba Fett cinematographer David Klein told Kevin what they were seeing, quote, "No, my man, we don't have elephants. We have one bantha that's filled with about 4 puppeteers and another 4 people on little remote controls, and the other 3 or 4 or 5 banthas are CG. And it's on a motion base. And it does this, moves hand as he's moving his hands, and it goes around the backlot, and we shoot it. It's on track, and it's motorized, but a motion base can be programmed to animation. So you animate it in the previs to do its slow walk, and they program that into the motion base, and it does its slow walk. So why not just pure banthas?" David added, quote, "Our methodology always goes back to how would George have done it in 1977, and that's where we start. Of course, he didn't have motion bases and things like that, so we cheat a little bit, obviously. But he also didn't have VFX like we, so we cheat a lot doing visual effects work and CG. It starts, so we cheat a little bit, obviously. But he also didn't have VFX like we, so we cheat a little, actually. But always needs to start with that in mind, and even when you're doing visual effects work and CG work, it starts with that. It has to feel real. You can't just put that camera anywhere. You got put it where he would have put it in 1977. You have to move it like he would have moved it in 77, so that's why it's puppets. It's practical bleep everywhere. We always try and do it real until it becomes financially ridiculous. So bantha, it's just 4 guys in a bantha, quote unquote. Now this is going to end with Kevin Smith in a bantha suit, isn't it? Danny Trejo's appearance on The Book of Boba Fett was a complete surprise to series star Tamara Morrison. Morrison told TV Line during the show's Television Critics Association Winter Press Tour panel, quote, "I didn't know until the last minute until Danny got there that day for filming," unquote. This is not the first time the two have worked together. They also worked in 1988 on the movie 6 Days, 7 Nights with Harrison Ford and Anne Heche. And now, let's go on to the DC Comics news. And we start the DC news today with Matt Damon, who apparently has been a major influence on Ben Affleck's decision to walk away from Batman's boots. In a promotional interview for Ridley Scott's The Last Duel, Affleck and Damon take turns interviewing each other, and Affleck says in an interview, quote, "I had a really nadir experience around Justice League for a lot of different reasons. Not blaming anyone, there's a lot of things that happened, but really what it was that is that I wasn't happy. I didn't like being there. I didn't think it was interesting. And then some really bleep things, awful things happened. But that's when I was like, I'm not going to do that anymore. In fact, I talked to you about it, and you are a principal influence on that decision. I want to do the things that would bring me joy. Then we went and did Last Duel, and I had fun every day on this movie. I wasn't a star. I wasn't likable. I was a villain. I wasn't all the things I thought I was supposed to be when I started out, and yet it was a wonderful experience, and it was all the just stuff that came along that I wasn't chasing," unquote. Now, maybe Zack Snyder had something to do with that too. Zack Snyder couldn't get out of his own way to make a good DC movie. According to former president of creative development and worldwide production for Warner Brothers, and now Stampede Ventures CEO Greg Silverman, said about the director of DC Universe and zombie movies, responding to a comment on Twitter that said that if someone other than Snyder directed Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, they would have been critically acclaimed. Greg wrote, quote, "I couldn't agree more. My suspicion always was that Zack's kindness, openness, and enthusiasm create an environment for critics to undervalue his work. Because he is a decent, approachable human being, he doesn't fit the mold of an auteur. Bleep should be the opposite. Unquote. Gal Gadot revealed to InStyle magazine that she will probably put on the tiara of Wonder Woman in probably a year and a half. She told them that the script is still being worked on. Right now, she is having another baby coming up, and the remake of Cleopatra. Wonder Woman 3 is still unscheduled. The rating for Matt Reeves' The Batman is up, and it's PG-13 for strong, violent, and disturbing content, drug content, strong language, and some suggestive material. Now, this may be a bit of a disappointment to fans who are hoping for, a higher rating. PG, R, something like that. For me, I'm just looking for an actual, Dark Knight detective. The CW is developing a new Arrowverse superhero show with David Ramsey set to reprise his role of Diggle. The new series, called Justice U, will be about, quote, after spending years fighting alongside masked heroes, John Diggle embarks on a new mission to recruit 5 young metahumans to live undercover as freshmen at a prestigious university. There, he will oversee their education and train them to become the heroes of tomorrow, unquote. Ramsey will also be directing the pilot in the event that the project moves forward at the CW. But we must caution there, as it looks like Warner Brothers and Paramount might be selling the CW sometime soon. DC Comics has canceled the Joelle Jones Wonder Girl comic with issue number 7. No reason was given. The series stars Yor Floor, the Wonder Woman introduced in Dark Knight's Death Metal number 7. However, DC is bringing back the Flashpoint version of Batman this spring with a new miniseries from writer Jeff Johns. The series will see the Thomas Wayne version of Batman taken with figuring out how did his universe survive at the end of Flashpoint and why is he still alive. Aiding him in this mystery is a setting the book that looks familiar to readers of 52 and the 2007 volume of Booster Gold, a chalkboard loaded with cryptic hints and surrounded by clocks. Could it be that part of Thomas Wayne's research has taken him to either Vanishing Point or to one of Rip Hunter's time labs in Arizona and Pittsburgh? Maybe. The story, titled Flashpoint Beyond, will kick off with the 48-page Flashpoint Beyond number 0, featuring artwork by Eduardo Risso. Here's the blurb. After sacrificing everything to help the Flash put the universe back together and save Bruce Wayne's life, Thomas Wayne wakes up in a world he thought was no more. Forced to don the cowl once again, Batman prowls the streets of Gotham City, searching for answers to how this world still exists. But what he starts to uncover will send him hurtling across the globe. The hunt for the Clockwork Killer starts here. Starting with issue number 1, Jones will share writing duties with Jeremy Adams and Tim Sheridan, with artwork by Zermanico, with a new issue coming out every 2 weeks. And now, here's the Marvel news. Marvel news starts with Marvel's The Marvels. The sequel to 2019's Captain Marvel has tapped composer Lord Carpman to write the music. The movie is due out on February 18th, 2023. Cartman said in a statement, quote, I am thrilled to be going on this wild adventure with Nia DaCosta and Carol Danvers, and am really looking forward to the collaboration, unquote. Now, Cartman will be only the second woman to compose the score for a Marvel movie, following Pinar Toprak, who scored the first Captain Marvel movie. Details around the plot are still being kept under lock and key, but Ms. Marvel star Iman Vellani will co-headline the project as Kamala Khan, who idolizes Captain Marvel. Marvel has announced a relaunch of The Amazing Spider-Man this April with a new number 1 and a new creative team of writers Zeb Wells and artist John Romita Jr. According to the press release, quote, his Shed storyline is considered one of the best Spider-Man stories of all time. His bold work on New Warriors laid the groundwork for Civil War, and he's currently making waves with the Spidey mythos in Amazing Spider-Man's current Beyond era. Now hit writer Zeb Wells is ready to begin a new age at the helm of one of Marvel's all-time great comic book series. Wells will be joined on Amazing Spider-Man by none other than the legend himself, John Romita Jr. The definitive Amazing Spider-Man artist makes his grand return to Marvel Comics last year, specifically for this run, and is back to bringing Spider-Man's world to the page with his singular, unmatched finesse. Arriving in April, Wells and Romita Jr.'s run will house all of the classic elements fans love, about Peter Parker's surprising new takes on your favorite Spider-Man foes, and the answer to the question that will be on everyone's mind: what did Spider-Man do? Peter's on the outs with the Fantastic Four. He's on the outs with the Avengers. He's even on the outs with Aunt May. After a terrible and mysterious incident, no one wants to see Spider-Man, except for Dr. Octopus. Ox on Spider-Man's tail, and the Master Planner has something terrible, truly terrible planned for when he gets his tentacles on Spidey. All that and Tombstone makes a move that will remind readers why he's one of Spider-Man's most terrifying villains. Unquote. Sounds interesting. But let's go on to the geek news. NBC has ordered a new pilot episode for a reboot of Quantum Leap. The reboot will take place 30 years after Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the Quantum Leap accelerator and vanished. Quote, a new team has been assembled to restart the project in the hopes of understanding the mysteries behind the machine and the man who created it. Unquote. Now, there's no word on if Scott Bakula will be involved in the project. Original series creator Don Belisario is among the reboot's executive producers, as is Deborah Pratt, who co-wrote, co-produced, and narrated the introduction of the OG Quantum Leap. Stephen Lillian and Brian Weinbrent from God Friend and Me will be writing and executive producing the new take, while Martin Garrow from Blind Spot will also serve as an executive producer. And we have some Writers Guild Award nominations to announce. For Best Drama Series, The Handmaid's Tale, Loki, The Morning Show, Succession, and Yellow Jackets. For a new series, Hacks, Loki, Only Murders in the Building, Reservation Dogs, and Yellow Jackets. The adapted long form will be between Halston, Impeachment, American Crime Story, Made, The Underground Railroad, and WandaVision. The adapted short form New Media, Calls on Apple TV Plus, Debunking Borat on Prime Video, and The Expanse One Ship on Prime Video. In animation, An Inconvenient Truth from Bob's Burgers, The Loft and Bedalization from Bob's Burgers, Must Love Dogs on Family Guy, Plan 2 from Tuke and Birdie, Portrait of a Lackey on Fire from The Simpsons, and The Star of the Backstage from The Simpsons are all up for awards. Now, there's plenty of other awards here that I'm not telling you about. You can look at the list in our show notes. The Degrassi franchise is making a comeback. HBO Max on Thursday confirmed a series order for Degrassi, which will consist of 10-hour-long episodes and premiere in 2023. The new series from showrunners Laura Azzopardi and Julia Cohen is described as, quote, a reprise of the original teen drama, unquote, that will focus on a new group of teenagers and school faculty living in the shadows of events that both bind them together and tear them apart. The show will travel deep into the hearts of homes of diverse, complicated characters as they struggle to find their new normal, reaching for hope, redemption, and love, according to the official logline. Now, production is set to commence in Toronto this summer. Variety has learned that a series adaptation of the movie Real Steel is in early stages of development at Disney+. The potential series would be based on the 2011 film of the same name, which was itself based on the short story Steel by Richard Matheson. The film took place in the not-too-distant future, which human boxers had been replaced by giant fighting robots. Hugh Jackman starred as a former boxer who, along with his estranged son, fixes up an old robot they find in a junkyard and turn it into a champion. Now, as the project is still in the very early stages, no writer is yet attached. That means it's not yet clear if the show will adhere to the events of the original film or take a different direction altogether with brand new characters. And while we're at Disney+, Disney and Pixar's Turning Red will skip theaters and go straight to Disney Plus. Now, the movie had previously been set to arrive in theaters on March 11th worldwide. The movie will still be seen theatrically, but only in places where Disney Plus is not yet available. Now, Turning Red marks Pixar's 25th feature film and had been planned to be the first film from the studio to be released in theaters since Onward, which arrived in March of 2020. Since then, the Academy Award winner for Best Animated Feature Soul was released on Disney Plus on Christmas of 2020, and their most recent movie, Luca, arrived in the summer of 2021. Now, as of this writing, the Toy Story spin-off movie Lightyear still remains on the schedule for a theatrical release on June 17th, 2022. Disney and Pixar's Turning Red introduces Mai Li, voiced by Rosalie Chang, a confident, dorky 13-year-old torn between staying her mother's dutiful daughter and the chaos of adolescence. Her protective, if not slightly overbearing mother, Ming, voiced by Sandra Oh, is never far from her daughter, an unfortunate reality for the teenager. And as if changes to her interests, relationships, and body were enough, whenever she gets too excited, which is practically always, she poofs into a giant red panda. Directed by Academy Award winner Domi Shi, who directed the Pixar short Bao, and produced by Lindsay Collins, Turning Red arrives on Disney Plus on March 11th, and the trailer looks cute. Andrew Burnap has joined Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot in Disney's live-action Snow White remake. Burnap, who won a Tony Award last year for his performance in The Inheritance, will join Rachel Zegler, who will play Snow White opposite Gal Gadot's evil queen. Now, according to sources talking to The Hollywood Reporter, Burnap will play a new male character created for the film and will, of course, sing. Robert Rodriguez's gender-reversed Zorro series, which was originally in development for NBC, will instead be taking place at the CW. Zorro is described as following a young Latinx woman seeking vengeance for her father's murder, who joins a secret society and adopts the outlaw persona of Zorro. Now, in addition to the Rodriguez's, the new Zorro is also being developed by Sean Tretta, Ben Silverman, and Howard T. Owens Propgate with CBS Studios. Now, it was announced a while back that the Rodriguez's would exec produce the show with Modern Family star Sofia Vergara, but it's also reported that she is no longer attached to the project. Disney Plus's National Treasure series has added 5 new cast members. According to Deadline, Disney has added 5 series regulars to the National Treasure cast. Lyndon Smith, Zoe Reed, John Austin Walker, Antonio Cipriano, and Jordan Rodriguez have all joined Alexis in National Treasure. Each of the new actors has a substantial part to play. Smith is playing FBI agent Ross, an operative searching for redemption after a terrible mistake that nearly ended his career. Reed takes on the role of Tasha, a social media personality, tech genius, and very close high school friend of Jess. Rodriguez stars as Ethan, Jess's best friend who has a hard time breaking the rules, and Cipriano plays Oren, a class clown who knows a thing or two about conspiracy theories. Walker is set to play Liam, a struggling musician who comes from a long line of treasure hunters. Jess, the lead character in the series, is a dreamer, that's an undocumented immigrant child, who knows that there is more to her family than she's being told. She has been described as a brilliant and resourceful mind who loves a good mystery and has a natural talent for solving puzzles. As she starts uncovering secrets about her parents and other members of her family, she discovers ties to a long-hidden treasure. The Santa Claus movies are getting a limited-run TV series on Disney+. Now, in the series, Scott Calvin is on the brink of his 65th birthday and realizes that he can't be Santa forever. He's starting to lose a step in his Santa duties, and more importantly, he's got family who could benefit from a life in the normal world, especially his 2 kids who have grown up at the pole. With a lot of elves, children, and a family to please, Scott sets out to find a suitable replacement Santa while preparing his family for a new adventure of life south of the pole. Now, this will be the 4th time Alan has taken up the role of Calvin/Santa. He first starred in the film The Santa Claus back in 1994 which was followed by 2 sequels in 2002 and 2006. Jack Burdett, who created the Allen-led comedy series Last Man Standing, will serve as executive producer and showrunner on the Santa Claus series. Allen will executive produce in addition to starring. Kevin Hinch, Richard Baker, and Rick Messina will also executive produce. The Disney-branded television series will be produced by 20th Television, and production will begin on the series this March. Netflix has announced that it's raising prices. In the United States, the subscription price for the standard plan will rise $1.50 to $15.49. The basic plan will go up $1 to $9.99, and the premium plan will increase to $2 to $19.99. In Canada, the price for the standard plan will also go up $1.50 to $16.49 Canadian. The premium plan will go up $2 to $20.99 Canadian, and the basic plan will be unchanged. Well, I guess you're going to have to pay up to see the Scott Pilgrim anime series that's in the works from Netflix and UCP, the division of Universal Studios Group behind the Umbrella Academy, and Chucky are developing the brand new adaptation that does not yet have a series order. Brian Lee O'Malley's Pilgrim, who is Pilgrim's artist/creator, is writing and executive producing with Ben David Grabinski, the showrunner behind the revival of Are You Afraid of the Dark at Nickelodeon. The two will show-run the series should it move forward with Anime House Science Saru to tap and will on tap to provide the animation work. The company's Young Chow will serve as serve as producer, and Evil Gongora as director on the series. After nearly 6 years of wide-ranging assessments, parties involved with Princess Estate have finally agreed on its value, $156.4 million, according to the Minneapolis Star Tribune and the Associated Press. The estate's outgoing administrator, Commercial Bank and Trust, had valued it at $82.3 million, which provoked howls of outrage from multiple parties, not least the heirs of the late artist, who died in 2016 without leaving a will. Last year, the Internal Revenue Service valued it at an amount much closer to the final number of $163.2 million. Now, with an agreement between Comerica and the IRS and clearance from the heirs, the process of distributing Prince's wealth could begin as soon as next month, the report says. Now, while even the new number seems small in comparison with the sums commanded by Bruce Springsteen's publishing and recorded music catalogs, or around $550 million, sources say, or Bob Dylan or David Bowie's publishing alone, was nearly $400 million and upwards of $250 million respectively, the dispute has run up tens of millions of dollars in legal fees, and the filing states the heirs were eager to settle. I would just like to have $1 million of that. Deanna Booher, who might be best known for her various ring names of Matilda the Hun, Queen Adrena, and Queen Kong, has passed away. Booher made her first in-ring debut on December 5th of 1985, wrestling a 700-pound bear. Booher would later team up with David McLean, creator of the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, aka Glow, and director Matt Clymer to cast, recruit, and train performers for the all-female wrestling show. Now, she also wrote the show's theme song and wrestled under the name Matilda the Hun, a character that ate raw meat in the ring and scared children in the crowd. Booher later said that she really enjoyed it. After 2 years in Glow, she and others left to start a competing show called Powerful Women of Wrestling, but it failed. After her wrestling career, she earned a living doing stunt work and making appearances on TV and movies. Now, she appeared in Mel Brooks' Spaceballs as the Bearded Lady, in Deathstalker 2 as Gorgo, the Amazon wrestler, Brain Smasher: A Love Story as Bertha, Meet Wally Sparks as a party guest, and other movies, and also had appearances on TV shows like Hardcastle McCormick, Mama's Family, Night Court, Amen, Dream On, Parker Lewis Can't Lose, Married with Children, and appeared in the music video for Aerosmith's Love in the Elevator with a little person on her shoulders. By 2017, Booher used a motorized wheelchair because of wrestling-related spine deterioration, and in her later life suffered from lupus and peripheral neuropathy. She died on January 7th, 2022, at the age of 73. And finally tonight, Bob Saget suddenly passed away on January 9th. The stand-up comic and actor, best known for the role of Danny Tanner on the ABC sitcom Full House, and the future Ted Mosby narrator voice on How I Met Your Mother, as well as the host of the original America's Funniest Home Videos from 1989 to 1997. Now, Saget's stand-up work was a very different animal from his wholesome image on Full House, having a much more adult-oriented comedy style. Saget was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on May 17, 1956. He grew up originally intending to become a doctor, but his honors English teacher in high school saw potential in him and urged him to see a career in acting. Together, Saget would graduate and go to the Temple University Film School and would graduate with a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1978. Saget intended to take graduate courses at the University of Southern California, but quit after only a few days. Saget described himself at that time in an article by Glenn Esterly in the 1990 Saturday Evening Post, saying, quote, "I was a cocky, overweight 22-year-old. Then I had a gangrenous appendix taken out, almost died, and I got over being cocky and overweight," unquote. After that, he got into television, showing up on shows like Booze and Buddies, The Greatest American Hero, and It's a Living, before getting the role that would define his career, that of Danny Tanner on Full House. A couple of years later, he would also become the host of America's Funniest Home Videos, and he would also make an appearance on an episode of Quantum Leap, host an episode of Saturday Night Live. After Full House and AFV, he would make appearances on The Norm Show, Entourage, and Joey, and others, before finding a new role, that of the 2030 voice of Ted Mosby on the show How I Met Your Mother. Other geeky roles include an episode of Robot Chicken, the Netflix follow-up series Fuller House, Shameless, The Masked Singer, and more. He also did some film work, mostly small roles, but he did direct the movie Dirty Work in 1998. On January 9th, 2022, Saget was staying at the Ritz-Carlton Orlando Grand Lakes, located south of Orlando, Florida, near Williamsburg. He was in the midst of his stand-up tour and had performed at the Ponte Verde Beach the previous evening. Saget was found unresponsive in his room by hotel staff at around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He had missed his scheduled checkout time, and family members had grown concerned after being unable to contact him. Emergency responders pronounced him dead at the scene. He was 65 years old. No cause of death was immediately announced, but foul play and drug use were ruled out by the sheriff and the medical examiner. Bob Saget was married twice and had 3 children. Again, he was 65 years old. And that will bring us to the end of the show for today. Please be sure to check out our social media. We're at Twitter at Multiverse Tom. We're also on Facebook and Instagram as well. And if you'd like to contribute financially to the show, check out the show notes, visit the TeePublic store, and so much more. Head on over to the brand new multiversetonight.com. And if you're a subscriber, thank you very much. Be sure to share us with friends, family, heck, people you hate. If you're brand new to the show, please be sure to subscribe. Leave some feedback. Let me know how we're doing. Do you want me to go back to the 2-episode format, or do you like this? Any comment is welcome. Special thanks to Shane Ivers for the intro music and Lobo Loco for the outro theme music. Thanks for watching this edition of Multiverse Tonight. We'll be back in just 2 weeks with more sci-fi and comic book news. Now please exit the universe in an orderly fashion. Good night. Multiverse Tonight is a production of Half-Baked Genre Productions. Copyright 2022. All rights reserved. Let's check our stuff here. Let's see. Are you there? 41 minutes and 40 seconds. Well, I think we got it. Well, it recorded.